We'd like to thank Mainspring Companies for sponsoring Season 1 of The Next Entrepreneur. Mainspring celebrates the entrepreneurial journey, and we are very grateful for their support.
I pose this question often. If it's Saturday night, 7:30, we're on an hour and a half wait, and our general manager walks out of the restaurant, how bad is that shift going to be? And most people go, oh, we'll make it. Saturday night, 7:30, hour and a half wait, and our dishwasher walks out of the restaurant. How bad is that shift going to be? And everybody's like, oh, man, we're screwed. Exactly. So it takes it back to the walk-on, right? That might not be, the most prestigious job, right? Or the highest salary in the building. But if that person walks out, the whole system just crumbles. Yeah. And so it goes back to our walk-on mentality. When you're talking about right here, our core values, live with integrity, extend them, embody humility. Everything that we do, we know, and we grow from our mistakes, and it's about the team first. And so, yeah, I appreciate the awards that I might get personally, but I know deep down, and our team knows as well, that it's because of them, and I'll accept them on behalf of our Walk-Ons family.
Hello, I'm Andrew McClendon, your host of the Next Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm here today with our producer, Mr. Daniel Sagona, and our guest today is Mr. Brandon Landry, co-founder and CEO of Walk-On Sports Bistreaux. Brandon, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, look, congratulations on all of your successes today. It's been really exciting watching you grow your business, your homegrown talent, and I think it's safe to say that Louisiana is really proud of everything that you've accomplished.
I appreciate that. Things happen. Living the American dream right now, for sure.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. So look, let's start. I wanted to ask you to define walk-ons by the numbers.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Of course, we opened up the original in 2003, hoping we could make a living off of opening one restaurant and slinging some burgers and beer. Here we are, almost 18 years later, and actually this weekend, we are opening up number 50. Wow. So this is a big milestone for us. We're in 9 states now, about 8,000 team members throughout the country, over 150 franchises sold right now. So we'll be busy over the next few years. And, it's great. As far as our brand, as we look at about a $5 million average unit volume per unit. And so right now we're about $250 million in sales. Something that wasn't supposed to work, and talking these type of numbers is exciting, and it's been a fun journey for sure.
So you're opening number 50 this weekend.
Yeah.
What do you think your target is for the end of the year? Where do you think you'll be?
We're on track to do around 23 to 26 or 27 locations this year. This one will be 4 and 5 over the weekend, so we already opened up 3 earlier this year. And that's a sweet spot for us. We're not a brand that really likes to go out and open 80, 90, 100 restaurants. Right. It just doesn't fit. We put a lot of time, effort, energy, resources into opening the restaurants. They're large restaurants, 7,000, 8,000 square feet, a couple hundred new teammates that join our team at each one. We send a team of almost 20 people out to each opening. I try to get to every opening. So, that's a lot to do with our success. I think, when you look at everything that we put into, first of all, finding the right franchise partner, but also spending the time to make sure we open them the right way and teach them the walk-ons way, which is we call the wow.
The walk-ons way.
That's it.
So you played basketball at LSU from 97.
Played's a strong word.
Yeah, you're on the team.
Yeah, there you go.
But you walked on, right? That's the story. So I'm going to ask you to tell the story that you've told 1,000 times.
Yes,
the napkin story.
Actually, third time I've told it today. So, it's a great story. So I was a walk-on the LSU basketball team. For you guys that know anything about walk-ons, you don't get scouted, awarded a scholarship. You're playing for the true love of the game, right? And so I grew up South Louisiana, White Castle, Louisiana, about 30 miles south of here, and grew up a Tiger fan and went to Catholic high school here in Baton Rouge, and just wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself, right? Being a part of that team, and so I got cut originally. Coach John Brady, it was his first year, 1997, and then a couple of months into the season, he had ran a couple guys off, and they didn't have enough to practice with, and so. My best friend and roommate at the time was a manager, equipment manager, and so he called me up and said, "Hey, Coach wants to know if you want to come practice. They need at least 10 to run 5-on-5." And I said, "When do I need to be there?" And he said, 6:30 tomorrow morning, there's practice. I said, "I'll be there at 5:30. And so rest is kind of history. 4 years later, 3-year letterman, and had a blast doing it. But during the time, my teammate at the time, Jack Warner, and we were walk-ons, and I think my senior year I played 7 minutes. For you guys that know anything about basketball, that's 40 minutes in every damn game, and 7 minutes is not a lot for an entire season. And so I figured out pretty early on in my career that I probably wasn't going to play in the NBA and get paid to play the game. But we were literally on the way back from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville in 1999. So I think I was a sophomore at the time, and we had the opportunity to travel around the country and go to Knoxville, Gainesville, Tuscaloosa, Hawaii, Italy, unbelievable, and just got to see the world. Right, definitely the Southeastern Conference, and we found at 19 and 20 years old there was a need for something like walk-ons, something that, kind of brought Louisiana and sports and our story to the front. And so those little bev naps that you get on the plane, I think it was Tennessee. Yeah, I think we got beat by 35 or 40 points that night. It was not one of our good years. And we literally started doodling on the napkin. All the starters were sleeping. They were tired from playing. We didn't play a wink that night, and we just started doodling. And we said, "Man, if we did this place, and we could bring sports and all the things that I just mentioned." And so we went back to LSU. We were in an entrepreneurship class. Dr. Robert Justice, he taught it for years there, and he does his business plan project every year. And so we said, "Look, we'll do it on walk-ons." And so we did it, man. We turned it in. We thought, got to see. Wasn't necessarily the idea we had. We just needed some help with the business plan. And so, like a good professor always does, right? "Hey, if you guys are really serious about this, come see me, and I'll help you with it." And so we may be one of the few that took him up on it and said, "Look, we want to do this, and I know it's a pipe dream, right? But help us with this business plan and really talk to us about the business." And
so when you first were thinking that, was it just that one store?
Yeah. It was, man, can we open up a restaurant?
Yeah, right.
Can we go, flip burgers and sling beer and make a living, right? And, I grew up a sugarcane farmer's son in White Castle, no restaurant background whatsoever. And Jack was the same. I mean, it was, let's go do this, right? You don't know what you don't know when you're 19 and 20 years old, and
right.
Let's just roll with it. And so we did. We started working in restaurants, and I think the great thing about being young and inexperienced at the time, it was more like we don't know everything, right? A lot of these guys that work in a profession for a while, they said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it my way, and I don't want anyone else to tell me how to do it. We were completely the opposite. We were like, "Look, help us, any way we can." And so we did. So we started putting our business plan together, and this is by then it's 01, 02, not too long after 9/11. And so if you guys remember, I mean, it was they were trying to get the economy stimulated again. So basically, if you had a pulse and you could sign your name, you were getting a loan. Not us two knuckleheads, they just...
Well, you were how old?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I think we were 22, 23. Yeah. And so we get some investors involved and kind of tell them our plan and said, we want to bring, food and sports, and there's really nothing here in Baton Rouge. Like I said, it was a one location deal. Let's do it for, what's needed in Baton Rouge. And so we went to the first bank, we got our business plan and everything, and they're like, "Guys, yeah, we love it." No, You know, it just can't take that risk. 2 young guys, the restaurant business in itself. You know, we're not buying a franchise. We're not buying systems or processes or anything like that, which I get it. You know, looking back, I was like, yeah, of course bankers would do that.
Restaurants are tough to bank.
Yeah, absolutely.
No matter what age you are, but particularly when you're 20.
No doubt. So we get turned down by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 banks. But, you know, that walk-on mentality kicked in at an early age and said, you know, we're not going to take no for an answer and let's keep rolling. And so we went to number 7. And Mr. Mike Anderson here in town, the banker, not the restaurateur, sat down with him, and he brought in Mr. Andre Frugier out of Louisiana Capital at Small Business Association in Lafayette.
I know him well.
And we sat down with both of them. Mr. Frugier looked at us, and he goes, guys, if you're willing to bust your tail, we'll back you. We said, what does that mean, sir? He goes, it means you got a lot of debt at an early age. Good luck. Make sure you pay your notes. And so that was it. And so we got the original loan. We scored that piece of property. Which of course you hear, I think almost with every success story, there's a little bit of luck or a lot of luck. That property just came up for sale and we jumped on it. And, you know, that honestly, and I'll get into the operations here in a little bit, but that got us through the first couple of years.
So look, what you built, is that kind of what you drew on the napkin?
The original napkin is our Bev Naps throughout the country today. And so that's a replica of it. Yeah, so it's very close to what was drawn. Of course, we changed it. And honestly, ironically, if you look at the napkin very closely, there's no kitchen. We forgot to draw the kitchen on the napkin. And you know, kind of, I say ironically, because kind of what we're known for today, traveling throughout the country, is a sports bar that has really good food. Yeah. But what's important to you when you're 19, 20, it's like, let's have lots of beer, lots of TVs, and, oh, yeah, we'll figure out the food later. Yeah, it's not the way to get into the restaurant business.
So what's amazing to me is, you know, usually when people start in a business like that, they'll start with something small. I mean, that is a beautiful restaurant. I mean.
Yeah, we did everything the wrong way. I mean, you know, you're exactly right. I mean, looking back, like we should have opened up, you know, in a strip mall and figured out the business and figured out no, not Brandon and Jack. We're going to go build a 9,700 square foot building, 300 plus seat restaurant next to Tiger Stadium, open the first week of September, which football is right. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, like we should have never done all this stuff.
But if you pass by that store on a game day today, you've got your tent outside, you've got music. It's amazing what's happening.
Yeah, it's different now. We figured out how to make hay when the sun shines on game days for sure. But honestly, back in the day, that's we were a bar. You know, we opened up and it was not what I guess at the time is what we envisioned, but it's not where we are today. You know, the food wasn't good. I'll be the first to admit, people that came in and ate and 03, 04, 05, I apologize, you know, because we were not good. We were not consistent. And we were a bar that served food, right. But we changed that over the years.
So you mentioned you've never been in the restaurant business before. You're 20, 21 years old, whatever. And so, but now you're in business for real. You got a 9,700 square foot restaurant and 300 seats. So how was that learning lesson of managing labor and everything that goes with that?
Yeah, they don't teach you that stuff in school, right? You know, it's it was. I mean, look, the reason why I think we're as successful as we are today is because we were able to make it through those tough years and learn lessons the hard way. They always tell you, you know, no better way to learn a lesson to do it wrong once. And look, we were in there and we were just trying to build the brand and make people happy. And look, even though we didn't have these systems or processes or accounting, all the things that you really need to run the business, right? I go back to, you know, being that walk-on and being a part of a team. And being a part of a team is being a part of something bigger than yourself. And that's the only thing we had back then. And, you know, even though most of the teammates were our age or older and knew we probably didn't know as much as we should about the business, they know we cared. And I if there's one lesson, and I still, you know, we have Walk-Ons University, and I speak at the beginning of each one, and it's every manager that comes through our system right now. I say, if you take one thing away from it, your team doesn't care how much you know. Your team cares how much you care. And I'm a living example of that, because we didn't have years of restaurant experience, but each and every one of them, they knew that we cared. We cared about our business. We cared about our brand, but we cared about them. And in turn, they cared about the guests. And so even though we weren't great in the first couple years, people kept giving us second, third, 10th, 11th chances because they know we cared, and it was just, and we had that team camaraderie. We had, that walk-on mentality that we still live by today. I tell people all the time, and like, I knew that when I was on the team that I wasn't going to play against Kentucky in Rupp Arena when we went there. But I also knew that my contribution on the team that week of practice was making the team better and getting them prepared to play Kentucky in Rupp Arena. So I knew my role. And so those are those business philosophies that we carried over from the team, and we still live by them today.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So there's a story, you mentioned quality issues, your first 2 or 3 years. There's a story about burying them.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we were going, like I mentioned, we were going down that road of being a bar, and being your prototypical sports bar. And nothing against the sports bars out there today, but we didn't want to be a place that you just came in and you watch the game, you drink a beer. If you get really hungry, you might order some freezer or fryer food. Right. And we were going down that path. Right. And so we looked at ourselves, and I think with any good or great company, that they have to look at themselves in the mirror and say, is this what you want to be, or you want to be something different? And so, we're from South Louisiana, and we had a sports bar that was doing that type of operation. And so, from down here, we always say, you don't eat to live, you live to eat. And so from the cultural aspect of it to the cuisine and everything, we really had to look at it. And so we told our team, we said we had to do something a little crazy and something that made a statement. And so we told a couple of them, hey, go grab some food off the line, a burger, some pasta, whatever it may be. And we didn't tell the kitchen to, deliberately go burn the burger or overcook the pasta. It was like, that's what we're doing today. And so we took it out there, and we literally dug a hole in the ground, made a tombstone, and said, today we are burying what we've been doing for the last couple of years. We're going to make a commitment to a food first mentality. We're not going to quit, in improving our culture and elevating everything we've been doing to this point, but let's make a change. And as crazy as that is, it made a statement not only to our team but to ourselves. Like, we got to live up to this. And so we did. And it's not like we went out and said, okay, well, now we're going to start winning James Beards Awards and things like that. No, it's just like, if we're going to cook a burger, like, let's go get some really good 80-20 chuck ground meat and hand patty them and sear them and get a great brioche bun and just the little things. If we're going to do cheese fries, let's go grate our own cheese and make sure we just got quality in everything we do. And then, looking at the Louisiana side of it, the gumbos and the etouffees and all those things, let's take, we got with a commissary and make sure we had consistency and really taking our recipes and understanding where we wanted to get. And so we did. And we improved upon the first location. We did our second one here in Baton Rouge just to make sure that we can, took a big step. The biggest step is going from 1 to 2, right? When you got one restaurant or anything in any business, if you got one location, you can strong arm it, right? You can be there every day. You can turn the lights down if you need to. You can clean the table. When you get to 2, you better have a system. And so we started getting people in to really help us, and a consultant that came in to really help us, and now he's 11 years and been our president ever since. So it's cool stories like that that's really helped us get to another level.
Okay, Brandon, let's take a quick break,
Yep.
Get in a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Perfect.
One of our sponsors, MBD Maintenance, is excited to announce that after 25 years, they're rebranding their company name to Pivotal. It's the same ownership, same staff, same location, just a new name that better represents the services that they provide their clients across the Southeast United States. Pivotal does commercial building construction and renovation. They do tenant improvement work and retail and office facilities. They do installation of dock doors in distribution centers, storm and fire damage repair, and catastrophe recovery for national disasters. The team at Pivotal is simply the best. Their experience, they crush schedules, and they have an impeccable safety record. If Pivotal can help you with your next project, you can find them online at pivotalperforms.com. And we are back with Brandon Landry, CEO of Walk-Ons. So, but there's something that happened in between your first restaurant and the second Walk-Ons location. You guys ran through a couple of other concepts, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, Jack and I we were both just kind of finger on the pulse, right, and just understanding what was going on in the city, and it kind of the concepts kind of came with us as we grew. Kind of got out of the LSU stage and more of the young professional stage, and this was a time that we felt downtown Baton Rouge just had an opportunity. They had some businesses or some restaurants or bars that had opened and closed and things like that. But I just, once again, traveling and seeing other cities, man, downtowns were just cool. And here we are, the capital of the state, right on the river, got some really cool buildings down there. Why isn't Baton Rouge that type of place? And so a couple of years after the original Walk-Ons, we did the Rue House, which is a live music venue, kind of young professional crowd. Did really well, and then right across the street, about a year later, we did a Happy's Irish Pub that's still there today, and it's kind of a little pub, and we did live music on the back patio and things like that, and then everything kind of came out of need, right? It was like, man, we don't have like a young professional live music venue, and then it was like, man, we don't have a true Irish pub in Baton Rouge, and then everyone was leaving our bars at 2 a.m. hungry. And so it was like, man, we don't, honestly, unless at that time, I don't know where it is now, but 05, 06, unless you went to the mall, you couldn't get pizza by the slice. And so we were like, man, let's do a pizzeria, right? Well, neither of us are Italian. And so we started just looking into it, and New York style, thin sliced pizza by the slice or the whole pie. And, of course, when the bars would close, they would all pile down in the pizzeria. So it was just, that entrepreneurial spirit at the time. It was like, man, we just found needs, and I think we were pretty good at coming up with concepts and building a team. I think that's the key, right? And so and then we did the second Walk-Ons on Coursey Boulevard in 2008.
Yeah, so it strikes me that that's also just a creative process, right? For an entrepreneur, you're getting out and you're doing new things, different things, and there's a lot of
it was fun, but it's also in your mid-20s when you could burn both ends of the candle, right? So it was a little bit different for Brandon in his 40s now, but it's we weren't, neither of us at the time were married or kids or anything like that, so we could run the restaurants in there today and work the bars at night, and if you got a couple hours of sleep, we were fine. But yeah, those days are over.
So when it came to store number 2 for Walk-Ons, did you feel like y'all had identified that was the horse,
Yeah, we felt that that brand, that concept had some legs to maybe be able to grow. But like I mentioned before, going to that second location was key, and we just had to develop more systems and processes. And so we did that on a smaller scale at the Coursey Boulevard location.
So how long a time was it in between your second and your third Walk-Ons?
So Coursey, I think, opened in 2008, and then we actually we just made 10 years in Lafayette, so that was 2011. That 3 years in between that, and that was a big step for us, right? Because we were a Baton Rouge based, only knew Baton Rouge, and people was like, they associated Walk-Ons with LSU, and then our concepts down to everything was Baton Rouge, and then we just felt like Lafayette's been hot, and they've done great things as far as the business industry and opening up restaurants, but you had to be good, right? And so over those years of the Coursey life, we actually got reached out and had a consultant come to town by the name of Scott Taylor. And in his previous life, he had worked with a large franchise chain and other brands, and he was kind of in the middle of profession, what he was doing in his restaurant world, and he came in and really helped us kind of look at the systems and processes and really looking at it as a business. And he spent 5 or 6 months here, and then he really kind of get us on the straight and narrow. And then he sat down with us one day and he said, "All right, guys, my work here is done. I'm heading back to Tampa." And I was like, "Whoa, where the heck you think you're going?" And he's like, "Man, I got to go back. I got 2 young kids." And we said, "Let's talk." And so talk went well. Scott took a leap of faith. Picked up his, 2. I think he had a 4 and a 5-year old. I think they're a senior and a junior at U High right now. Picked up his wife and kids, and moved to Baton Rouge. Scott always said, probably wasn't on my list of top 500 places in the country to live. And especially he's a Florida Gator, so even worse, having to move to Purple and Gold land. But he came down, and look, I give him all the credit in the world. I still to this day, I pride myself in surrounding myself with really good people and people smarter than myself. And Scott came in and really took it, looking at it from a business. We were good at the brands and things like that, but really help us, put, like I said, systems and processes and everything we need to be able to grow. And so we went to Lafayette with the help of Scott, and built a brand new building there, and just blew the doors off right away. We went with great food and really elevated our culture, all the things that had got us to that point, and $7 million plus restaurant annually a year off, right out of the gate. And later that year, we had an opportunity down on Porter Street. Smith & Williski's never opened up after Hurricane Katrina. Right. And local business guy by the name of Rick Farrell bought the building, and he's like, "All right, now what the heck am I going to do with it?" He was just tired of seeing the eyesore down there. Right. And friend of a friend connected him with us, and he came down and looked at walk-ons and Happy's and Rue House and everything at the time. And he's like, "Man, it's a 16,000 square foot building. We can put a couple of different concepts in there. I heard you guys are good or decent at what you do. Would you come look at it?" And so we went down and looked at it, and formed a friendship and a partnership with Rick. We got that one open later that year. And so, within the course of probably 12 or 14 months, we go to the quote-unquote Cajun capital of the world, and then we go to the quote-unquote restaurant capital of the world, between Lafayette and New Orleans, which you got to be good at, right? Yeah. And we went to New Orleans in 2011, and won Best New Restaurant in the city of New Orleans, not just Best New Sports Bar, Best New Restaurant. Okay. And then in late 2012, we were up for ESPN's #1 sports bar. And they called us one day and said, "Congrats, you're one of 5,200 sports bars up for number one." I was like, glad we made that list, right? And then they narrowed it down to 100. We made that, narrowed it down to 12. And then they had the final 4. And they went around and started researching and really visiting those 4 brands. And we were the smallest one. They had them out of Atlanta and Charlotte and things like that. And October 15th, 2012, we got a call, said we were ESPN's #1 sports bar in North America. And an award's an award, right? Sometimes you can get it, you get the nice little trophy, you put it on your shelf, whatever you do. But this just, it was a little bit different, right? When you put ESPN's name behind it, and 2 guys that weren't supposed to make it, that we got to see, we couldn't get a loan, and here we are, we celebrated that. But it also gave us a lot of credibility on a national level.
It seems transformational.
Yeah, it was. It was.
So what did that look like immediately following that recognition? I mean, did you see an instant impact?
Yeah, we started getting inquiries from around the country, investment opportunities, and internally we were kind of, Jack and I had got to a point where at that point I knew I really wanted to grow walk-ons and take it to another level. And Jack loved the ideation and dealing with all the concepts that we had. And so we made a decision to part ways. And actually, our landlord, Rick Farrell, the guy that I just mentioned, ended up buying Jack out of our Walk-Ons Enterprises ownership. But yeah, I mean, so we started at that point. Rick had joined the company, and we decided, man, we have an opportunity to really grow this brand. And like I mentioned, people started calling and showing interest, and hey, are you coming here? Are you franchising or things like that? And so that's when we had to really get down to it and say, okay, I think we have an opportunity here with this brand. And we went to work. We put our head down for a couple of years and really, because look, if you're going to franchise something, if somebody's going to pay you a royalty and pay you a marketing fee and things, you better know what you're doing, right?
Let's talk about franchising.
Right.
So, I mean, it's great in that you had Scott on board, right, with his experience.
100%.
And then the recognition, and then people reaching out to you. So all the variables were in place to execute on starting on a franchising plan. But there's got to be this process of going through the pros and cons of, do I stay corporate owned?
No doubt.
Or do I go through franchising? Can you walk us through like what are some of those pros and cons, and why you ultimately went franchising route? Yeah,
I think when you look at lots of brands don't want to franchise because they feel like they might lose control. And of course, some people think, well, those franchisees don't run it as well as we would. And so you have those cons on the side of it. But, the pros are, if you do your research, if you do your homework, if you make sure you're vetting all franchisees and find people that are aligned with your values and your vision, it becomes easy. And that's what we did. And so back to Scott, he came from a brand that had 270, 300 units at the time, and learned a lot of good things, right, of how to do things the right way when it comes to franchising. But also, I think more importantly, he learned things that weren't so good and what we shouldn't do as we grow this, because sometimes franchisors, they will go down the path of sell, open, just to get that royalty stream coming in. I think it was important for us to take our time and make sure that we pick the right ones and like I said, make sure that they're aligned with us. Also, with Rick had joined our team, and then a year later, I get a call from a guy by the name of Drew Brees. Funny story, I get a call one day, actually Chris Stewart, and he said, "Hey, Brandon, I'm Chris Stewart. I'm Drew's marketing agent." He said, "I'd love to come sit and talk with you one day." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, that's great." And, grew up in South Louisiana, Saints fan, LSU fan. He said, "Actually, I'm going to pick up Drew from practice here in a little bit. You mind if we give you a shout back?" I said, "Sure." And so about an hour later, I get a call and said, "Hey, Brandon, it's Chris again. I got Drew in the car." And he's like, "What's up, Brandon?" I'm like, "Hey, Drew Brees, what's up, man?" And he's like, "Man, I'd love to sit down and talk." So fast forward a couple of weeks, Rick, myself, and Drew would get in a room, and he's like, "Look, man, I love what you guys are doing." He goes, "I love this space." He goes, "Of course, every athlete in the world would love to be a part of a sports bar concept." He said, "I'm not Drew Brees, the football player or celeb looking for a handout right here." He goes, "I'm a business guy looking to make an investment." He goes, "I'd love to be a part of this. I'd love to be you guys' partners." And so long story short, within the year, Drew buys into 25% of the company. And
so at that point, you and Rick were about 50-50.
We were 50, yeah. And so Rick sold him half of his half, so they were both 25, and I kept half the company, and that was a great thing. Rick showed his true colors early on. He's like, "Man, this is your baby. You need to stay whole here, and
that's sweet.
Yeah, let's go grow this thing." And so we did. But having conversations between the three of us, it was like, let's invest in our infrastructure. Let's invest in our human capital because that's another classic example of franchisors. They just want to go before they're ready.
So you talked about the impact from the ESPN recognition. I was curious about the impact of the Drew Brees connection.
Well, I mean, look, you probably couldn't have handpicked a better person to be a partner. And I'm not talking about just the name, the football player. I'm just talking about the human being. Yeah. And here we are right on the heels of him retiring. I think you can kind of see what people think of him. He's a great football player, but he's a better human being. And everything that he does, he stands behind and he stands for, and he gets involved. So right away, once again, kind of like the award, it gave us credibility. It gave, people around the country, it's like, okay, Drew Brees just doesn't put his name on anything, right? He does his research and he understands, he wants to get behind something that means something to him. And so, of course, that was huge, especially in Louisiana. Yeah. All our restaurants, as we started growing throughout the state, of course, everybody's like, when's Drew Brees coming? When's Drew Brees? Now, opening in Tampa and up in Charlotte and things like that, it might be a little bit different. They respect him, but they're not going to wear the black and gold up there like Louisiana does.
So he's a hands-on guy. He's engaged with you, right?
Very, yeah. He's not a passive investor. Even during football season, it's crazy. I'd get caught. He would call me on a Saturday when he's playing the Falcons the next day, and he wanted to know. He wanted to be involved. He didn't want to feel like, okay, here's some money, go. No, he wants to understand where we're going, why we're going there, who our franchise is, get to know them, get to know their names. And he doesn't forget it. It's amazing. He's a perfectionist on and off the field. Everything that he does is well thought out. It's just, look, I've learned so much from him. Not on the football field, of course, but it's just how to be a respectable business person. Husband, father, all those things. He's just. He's been great to be around, man, and it's I'll hate to see him go off of the gridiron, but I think we'll benefit more from it, but just because he's going to be around us more.
So both of y'all got in on the Undercover Boss show, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
That was awesome. Look, it was about a year leading up to it. Just everything that goes into it, and of course, you have to keep your circle really, really small. That was the first call we had with the team, with the production team. It was like the first thing you have to know is your circle has, because you may think, okay, this person's going to keep us at this. No, it has to be like on one hand, how many people know about this. And so that's how it started. It was my assistant at the time, Scott, our president, and our HR. That was it. And so we went through the deal, and I called Drew, and I was like, look, this is they called us, and they want me to go on, but I got a sneaking hunch that they want you probably on there too. A little bit bigger name than Brandon Landry, right? And he goes, oh, man, I'm in. He goes, let's just work out the schedule and, do it in the off season. So we did. They don't tell you anything about where you're going, who you're going to see, just because they don't want, us to do any research. And, we go through the ruse throughout the deal. I was a farmer, a soybean farmer from Alabama. They actually asked me, little something you may know something about, just in case you get asked these questions, right? And so they were like, how'd you grow up? I was like, well, I grew up, sugarcane farmer son. It was like, great, we won't do it in Louisiana, but maybe soybean. And you're from Florence, Alabama. Learn a little bit about Florence, right? So I went and looked at, I went to Florence High and things like that. And Drew had to do the same. But it was, unbelievable experience, right? So they come and pick me up, and we do our deal at the house where I tell the wife and kids and everyone bye, and then I get in the car and they don't tell me where. I'm 2 weeks on the road. I'll call Mackenzie, my wife, but that's about it. I don't know where I'm going right now. And Drew was a little bit different because he only had one job. I was going on the road for a couple of weeks to do 5 jobs.
Right.
He was just going to be able to do one, just because we were getting into the summer where he had practice and things like that and getting ready for the season. And so, but look, he was all in. We did it in New Orleans, which is very risky for him. Just because, he can't walk down the street. He actually loved it, but because, I think
his makeup was pretty radical, huh?
Well, I think people call him, prior to this, Breezes Christ, and he really looked like him, once he got all the hair and beard and everything. And it was kind of good because they got him done at the hotel a couple of blocks down from our restaurant. And so probably the first time in 15 years he got to walk down Poydras Street and not had to sign autographs and take pictures, because it was kind of funny. We were looking at him on the camera, and, just guys you knew that were just diehard Saints fans just walking right by Drew Brees and had no idea. So he went in there, and it was an evening shift, and he worked with Anderson, a kid that idolized him, had no idea who he was, and he washed dishes with him till midnight that night. And once again, Drew's Drew. Yeah, so it was awesome.
So what did you learn about that experience?
Well, I think it goes back to everyone has a story. When you really think about it, and sometimes you get caught in the growth and opening restaurants, and you hate to say it, but the numbers get larger, and so sometimes you get caught in running the business. And it really took me back to 2003 on Burbank Drive, opening up the original location and knowing each and every one of our teammates and knowing what their background is and things like that. So it was really cool to go out and, because man, Lafayette was actually one of the locations, because that culture is just unbelievable there, and it's been for us in that restaurant for 10 years. But I got to work side by side with Jessica, who's been with us for 6 years, who works 16 hours a day, and she drives Uber at night and cleans houses on the weekends, and has 4 kids, and 2 of them are hers, and then her sister passed away, and she took those 2 again. She struggles, right? But she walks in walk-ons, and you would never know it. When she puts that uniform on, and they call her Mom Jess there, and she just everything we want someone to be when they wear a walk-on's uniform. And just to hear her story and understand what she has to go through, it just makes you say, man, everyone's got one of these stories, and sometimes we just get in business and we're like, okay, we gotta roll, we gotta do it the walk-on's way. But sometimes it's good to sit back and understand, everyone's got a story, and let's understand them. And
I can feel your passion.
Yeah. And Drew was the same way. This is a kid, Anderson, that grew up, and I don't know if you've seen the episode. If you guys are that haven't, if you don't get teary eyed when you see that, this kid that lost his father, one of the best things that he and his dad did was go to Saints games, and he's sitting there talking about Drew Brees turned our city around and all this, and Drew's trying to keep it together, because he knows how much. But in turn, like Drew will tell you, like that meant more to he and I than it did to, and then of course we give him big rewards and things like that at the end, but what we got out of that experience was much, much more than we gave away.
But and beyond that recognition couldn't have hurt your awareness for your franchise opportunities as well, right?
Yeah, of course it was great for the brand. We got, I don't remember all the stats, but just the amount of website hits and inquiries and franchise sales and franchisees. And I can tell you this, it made our current franchise partners very proud to be associated with our brand as well. And I think that meant more to me than anything.
So let me ask you, Brandon, as you've walked us through this timeline, you've been growing your franchises all along the way. Of course, now you're up to getting ready to open your 50th store. What would you say were some of the biggest challenges that you've had along the way?
Well, I think if anything, because we pride ourselves from the get-go on having a great culture, and scaling culture is not easy. Because we can build the same buildings, we can have the same draft beer, we can make sure the etouffee tastes the same in Baton Rouge as it does in Tampa, Florida. But I think the key is you have to spend a lot of time, effort, and energy, and it has to mean something to you to be able to scale the culture. It just doesn't happen. You have to invest in it. We like to say John Gordon is, I love his books and his podcasts, and we formed a relationship, but one of his best sayings is that you have to invest in the root to get the fruit. And a lot of companies and a lot of people don't do that because it's not easily quantifiable. A lot of times when you're talking marketing budgets and where you're going to spend your time, effort, energy, and money, it's like, okay, well, let's make sure we can get a good ROI on this, right? It's not always that easy when you're talking culture, and you have to spend time in getting to know. Once again, they don't care how much you know, they care how much you care. And so for us, I spoke of it, it's our wow, it's our walk-on's way. And so it's not that something that we can't do, and we are doing, but it's not easy. And there's a lot of companies that don't do it just because it's like I said, it's not easily quantifiable. But not that it's a challenge, but it's what's it is what makes our heartbeat, and it's the lifeline of our company and our business. And we may go somewhere and people like our food and our buildings all right now, but more importantly, they like what we're doing. And our vision is to be more than a restaurant. When you think, we're going to have burgers and beer and seafood and things like that, but how are we more than a restaurant? How are we impacting the community and inspiring a lifestyle that celebrates the underdog in all of us? Because I think that's really how we got started. Everyone's got an underdog story. It doesn't matter if you played sports or you passed up for a job opportunity or you didn't make the band in high school. Everyone's got one. So how do we celebrate that and say that's okay? And how do we grow from that?
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, let's take a break and get another word from our sponsor, and we will be right back. We would like to thank Gear Train for their support of the NXT Entrepreneur Podcast. Gear Train is a national program management company that specializes in the inspection and audit of conveyor systems, VRCs, robotics, and material handling equipment. Gear Train also manages routine maintenance and repair programs, as well as emergency callouts for clients all across the United States. Gear Train technicians have the experience to keep your automated equipment systems running at peak output. For all of your inspection, audit, and maintenance needs, reach out to Gear Train. They can be found online at geartrainperforms.com. And we are back with Brandon Landry with Walk On. So, Brandon, this year certainly had to be one of the most trying in business, I would think, with the impact of COVID. So can you walk us through like what impact that had on your business, what it did to you?
Yeah, it's almost a year to the day when you look at it. It's pretty tough to make it in the restaurant business when they tell you can't be a restaurant, right? Right. So. It's nothing that you, like I said, you can learn in school or learn in 18 years of business. What just happened this year, of course, it's been horrible for lots of people, and we had to pivot, right? What do you do? I mean, I think when you look at good companies, they just figure out you can do one of two things. You can sit there and hang your head and say, "Oh, poor pitiful me." Or we say, what do we have to do? Let's roll. And it's not just me. I looked at our team, and it said, let's go. Let's look at this. Let's look at this in a positive way. And what do we have to do? And so we pivoted to take out sales right away, and testament to our food and what our team does. I mean, we were able to recapture, 65% of normal sales right away. And then as we started getting our restaurants back open, of course, we tried to keep as many. That was our goal, to keep as many of our team members as we possibly could. And also help out our franchisees, looking at them. And we looked at ourselves and said, excuse me, let me take a sip of water here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, your franchisees must have been, were your phones just ringing off the hook?
Yeah, because they're looking to us and say, "What do we do?" And we're sitting here going, "Man, what do we do?" And so the first thing we said, "Look, we're not gonna collect royalties. As we're all suffering here, even for, like, if we got to take the bullet here, it's a dare to serve mentality, right? How are we the best possible franchisor to these guys?" And we did, and they appreciated that. And so then we developed we had our Game On Foundation was founded to support, rebuild, refurbish youth sports facilities that we've been doing for a couple of years now, our 501c3. And we took that as the parent of, let's start Furlough Kitchen. Let's start feeding furloughed hospitality workers. And we fed over 40,000 free meals across, I think, 8 states. Free meals. Whoever, not just Walk-On's employees. Right. If you were a furloughed hospitality worker and you wanted a hot meal, come see us. And so, once again, testament to our team, what we did and how we get through hard times. Because I think good companies are able to give back and do the right things when things are going good, right? Great companies when things are not going so good, are able to give back and are hit with adversity. And we said, look, we do what we do, right? And so let's go give back. Let's not collect royalties. Let's keep as many people as we possibly can. And we're going to come out of this. We looked at it as, let's just get to tomorrow. And that's any business, right? But especially the restaurant business during the last 12 months. It's like, we can't look ahead. We can't look 6 months and how's it going to be in 6 months? When are we going to reopen the world? It was like, let's get to dinner tonight. And then, how are we going to do it lunch tomorrow? And then let's just get to the weekend. And then we do it again the next week, right? And so that's the way we had to look at it. And it helped us get through this.
Look, that's great leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just
great team. No, I mean, like our team, it wasn't, it's not like I had to convince anyone. That's what's great. And I think once you build that culture that energizes them to fight for what you've built, it's very easy to get people aligned. And so we sat down and said, first thing we got to do is stay positive. If we sit here and start talking about the bad thing, like all you have to do is turn on the TV, right? Or the radio. Just listen to what's going wrong right now. Let's stay positive. Let's celebrate the little things that are happening that are good. And we did. And honestly, that's what got us through it. And so we finished 2020 less than 5% down in sales.
That's fantastic.
From 19, and I know our industry average is a lot higher than that. But I think it's a testament to our team and what we did and how we treated people and our guests throughout the pandemic.
Man, that is really fascinating. It's a great job there.
Thank you.
So let's talk about a private investment. 10 Point Capital, a private equity firm, recently made an investment in walk-ons. Tell me, what it was that made that appealing for you, and what impact you think that's going to have on the growth of your business moving forward.
Yeah, it's been great. So we weren't actively seeking a private equity partner, but I'll tell you this: I've always prided myself and surrounded myself with really good people, and I never wanted to get down the road and say, "Man, I wish I woulda." And so we formed a friendship with the 10 Point Group. It's a very small boutique private equity group out of Atlanta, and Scott Presley, the principal, he and I formed a friendship, and we aligned on a lot of ways. And we started talking about it and said, I think there's an opportunity here. And we did. And we signed an LOI in January of 2020. We were supposed to close on March 31st, 2020. And then I guess probably a week or two before that, he texted me and said, can we chat? And I said, I kind of figured this was coming. And he goes, yeah, we're going to have to put the brakes. I said, look, man, I get it. And he goes, I have a fiduciary duty to our investors. I said, 100%, I get it. And the great thing about it is the way we responded and the way we started coming back from the shutdowns very quickly. By July, he called us and said, let's get back into terms. Right. And so we went through all the due diligence in the middle of a pandemic. And we closed the first week of October. And so they're a minority partner, they're coming in to just be that support. It's great because sometimes you get in the business, and I think this is any business, and you're running it and your head's down, and we're just doing what we have to do for the brand. Sometimes it's great to have kind of that sounding board that's kind of looking from the outside in and saying, okay, look, things are great. Things are going really well, but where are we going to be in a couple of years? Where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 10 years? And started looking at it from a strategic standpoint. And so it's been great. We talk a couple of times a week. It's not like they come in and bring their team in or anything. It's nothing like they're buying our assets. They bought into what we've built and the human capital that we have. And it's good things to come for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Based on a current valuation, right? Bit of a liquidity event for you guys as well?
Yeah. So, luckily we were a debt-free company when they came in. And so it was an opportunity for the ownership to take a few chips off the table and, just have some opportunity for huge growth. And so they love the white space that's out there for walk-ons. We feel like there's market, we work really well in these tertiary, secondary markets, and there's a lot more of them than there are big metros, Yeah. And so it's exciting.
That is exciting. Let's talk about next thing, your latest brand, Small Sliders.
Yeah.
Tell us about Smalls.
It's interesting. I was, of course, entrepreneur spirit, and I'm running walk-ons like crazy every day. And but I've always like dibble dabbling and just kind of coming up with ideas. And we had these sliders at Walk. We still do our little cheeseburger sliders as an appetizer. And I was like, man, these things are so good. I grew up just loving little cheeseburgers, and I said, I think there's something behind this. And so my nephew, he was an engineer, and he kind of came to me one day and he said, man, if you ever got anything, I kind of want to be an entrepreneur. And I said, actually, I do. And so we sat down, and I said, man, I think this could be a concept. And I said, I don't think it needs, doing walk-ons in these huge buildings and over 80 menu items and liquor and all this stuff, that I said, I think we can have something simple. Taking a page out of one of my best friend's books, Todd Graves, with Raising Cane's, just do one thing and maybe do it better than everybody else. Right. And so we did, and it's 900 square footprint of usable space with a little patio, and it's just one thing: cheeseburger sliders and Cajun waffle fries and some shakes. And we got the original location open on Nicholson, right across from Tigerland, and we are working on number 2 right now, and we got franchisees that are lining up, and so we're going to franchise this little motto as well, and very, very excited about it.
So I saw a design of that store, and it was made of shipping containers,
correct,
right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
what was it? Design?
Just kind of that industrial model. It was just something that we can really brand ourselves with. And so now we've partnered with a group out of South Florida that makes these modular buildings, and they're going to look just like shipping containers. And actually, Drew's a partner in Smalls as well. He and I were flying to an event, and I was kind of showing them the original renderings, and he's like, I want in. And I was like, well, Drew, I wasn't pitching you here on anything. He's like, no, man, I love this. He goes, I want to be a part of this from the get-go. So Drew's a 25% owner in Smalls as well, and had a call with him yesterday about the growth of Smalls and how we're going to, same thing with walk-ons, invest in our infrastructure first, make sure we got the human capital so we can be able to provide a great franchise model for franchisees.
That's fantastic. Tell us about your corporate headquarters. I've seen some images online, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. We were fortunate enough to. We're a 9 iron away from the original walk-ons. It was previously the Co-op bookstore, and so they had about 30,000 square feet, and we didn't need 30,000 square feet, but it was a deal. Like I said, in the same parking lot, and we could build it out. So I would say 60% of it is fun. We have a full bar. It's kind of like a little mock walk-ons in there. We have a full basketball court, golf simulators, Papa shots, golden tees, all that stuff. And then half of it is, of course, our office space. And so it's fun. We host parties there. And our team
test kitchen there?
Well, not yet. So that was one of the things we wanted to get in and make sure we understood the space. But actually, we're starting design right now to really, because we had the luxury of the original walk-ons right across the parking lot. So if we needed a kitchen, we can walk over there. But I think we started doing it too much, and the kitchen manager and the GM was like, "Man, y'all need to build y'all's own." So we are in the process of designing that right now. But we have fun. Look, we sell burgers and beer for a living. Yeah. We don't take ourselves too seriously. So, if you can't have fun doing what we're doing, it's not the place for you. And so we enjoy, our purpose. And from the get-go, when you talk about our purpose, it's to bring people together. And whether it be our guests or our team or anything like this, every one of us holds our purpose, vision, and mission in our pocket, and talks about our core values and our guiding principles, and then our promises on the back. So everyone has these in their pocket, so we all know you can't get to where you're going unless you know where you're going. Yeah, and so my job every day is as the founder and the CEO of this company is to make sure that our vision is crystal clear to each and every one. And it's if I'm doing that the right way, we're on the right track.
Oh, that's excellent. So look, you have earned a lot of recognition over your career. Louisiana Restaurant Association's Restaurateur of the Year, Baton Rouge Sales and Marketing Executives Marketer of the Year, Baton Rouge Business Report Young Business Person of the Year, and now Business Person of the Year, right? So I was just curious in wrapping up, when you look at all your successes up to this point in your career, what role has your athletic career played in the success?
Huge. I mean, because I go back to, I get these awards because I'm the founder and the CEO, right? But it's because of our team. Right. And I mean, look, our team, they believe in our vision and why we're here and how we're going to do it. And everything goes back to being a walk-on. Like I mentioned early on, like I knew I wasn't going to play in Rupp Arena. I mean, it's the same thing that happens in our restaurants. You know, I pose this question often. If it's Saturday night, 7:30, we're on an hour and a half wait, and our general manager walks out of the restaurant, how bad is that shift going to be? And most people go, oh, we'll make it. Saturday night, 7:30, hour and a half wait, and our dishwasher walks out of the restaurant. How bad is that shift going to be? And everybody's like, oh, man, we're screwed. Exactly. So it takes it back to the walk-on, right? That might not be, the most prestigious job, right? Or the highest salary in the building. But if that person walks out, the whole system just crumbles. Yeah. And so it goes back to our walk-on mentality. When you're talking about right here, our core values, live with integrity, extend them, embody humility. Everything that we do, we know, and we grow from our mistakes, and it's about the team first. And so, I appreciate the awards that I might get personally, but I know deep down, and our team knows as well, that it's because of them, and I'll accept them on behalf of our Walk-Ons family.
Brandon, it has been a pleasure to talk with you. I mean, you are a Louisiana treasure, my friend.
I appreciate it.
It's just fantastic what you and your team are accomplishing, and I look forward to talking with you again because I know you've got a lot more story to tell. So
you get Scott Taylor in here one day, our president that came, and he's got some great stories as well.
Good, would love to. Yeah. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All righty. You can't sit across from Brandon Landry and not be impressed. His experience at LSU inspired the walk-on mentality, which is the basis of their brand culture and fueled the growth of his business. Brandon thinks big. His first restaurant in his early 20s is a 9,700 square foot freestanding new construction facility, just unheard of. But he wanted to take the taste of Louisiana across the country. He created a sports bistro with good quality and a great atmosphere. In doing so, he won ESPN's #1 sports bar in America. He leveraged that notoriety through a franchise model and grew his business tremendously. Along the way, he brought on Drew Brees as a partner, which is going to be just a fantastic addition to the team. Brandon has used his guiding principles to shape the success of his business, and has taken 8,000 employees through the walk-on way. Brandon can be found online at walkons.com. We wish him continued success. We thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you for listening to the Next Entrepreneur Podcast. We'd like to thank our title sponsor, Mainspring Companies. It can be reached online at mainspringcompanies.com. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach us at ask@nxtentrepreneur.com. You can subscribe to the Next Entrepreneur Podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, Stitcher, or iHeartRadio. You can help support our podcasts by leaving a review on Apple Music. You can follow us on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please share this episode with your family and friends. The Next Entrepreneur is produced by Propel Productions. They can be reached at propelyourstory.com. Today's episode was produced by Daniel Sagona.